Hi, everyone. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. I'm Jen White, and I'm the Executive Director of Arise. And tonight's chat is about the myUSCIS system. So I'll explain what that is in a second. But this talk tonight is part of a larger series of presentations designed to get pro bono attorneys here in Pittsburgh equipped to take on cases. So it's part of the Collaborative for Immigrant Impact. So I don't, maybe one person here is maybe connected to that, but most folks here are not connected to that. But anyway, the point is if you want to know more about that, email me. I'll connect you to the person that you need to be connected to for that. Um, okay, so if you need a certificate for attendance tonight, shoot me an email. I'll get that to you. Okay, so the myUSCIS system is still new. It came out in 2022, and it's basically a way to file forms online. It's like a portal to do that. So tonight I'm actually going to show you a real case so you can see what it looks like, so you get a sense of what you do when you're on the website. But at a later date, we will do a training specifically on work permits. So that's called the Form I-765 application for employment authorization. But tonight I'm going to show you that actual application, the Form I-765. Just know that at a later date we'll kind of talk about the legal implications for that more. Tonight is more the process, how you actually file these things, and some things you need to be aware of if you do file them online. So it's a small group, as always. Please chime in if you have questions or thoughts you want to share. All of these trainings are informal. That's really the goal. Like that's one of the things we want to be at Arise is accessible because there are not many places you can go and ask questions, and we want to be that. So, okay, couple quick things to know ahead of looking at this online. There's been a really weird wave of scammers on the internet. Some of you might be aware of this. Just in the last few days, I've been made aware of, and I've seen myself, some concerning trends. So it used to be that you could go on Google and just Google Form I-765, and that would pop up. So if you were going to go ahead and like print that out, fill it out, and mail it, you could access it that way. Well, for whatever reason, Google changed its algorithm, and now there are a lot of fake websites that simulate the government website. And there are obvious reasons for that. Scammers are taking money from immigrants because of all these new filing fees. You can see where this is going. So it's just a caution to you. Make sure you're on the right website whenever you're doing anything related to immigration. So I'm actually going to put in the chat the website that I will be going to because there are mimicking websites and it's just so concerning. And it's obviously most concerning for our clients, but it's dangerous for us too. So just be careful. So it's my.uscis.gov. That's the website we'll be going to, and it's in the chat. Okay, so this website that I just put in the chat, this is, like I said, it's a portal where you can submit forms. It's helpful to know this is distinct from what the immigration court uses. There are two different agencies anyway. EOIR, that's the immigration court, is different from USCIS, which processes affirmative immigration cases. So they're very different. Okay, so let's just talk about the good and the bad before I show you the actual portal. Like, why would we use this website if it's not the best website? Because it actually is really, truly a terrible website. Um, it crashes all the time. I'll get to that in a second, but there are good reasons, so I'll start with the good. It's easier to access, excuse me, in terms of like monitoring the case, both for you and the client. So it's really nice to have a website available to do that instead of just like punching in the receipt number, which is what you would do if you filed an application through the mail. So that's a big benefit. Related to that, it's much easier to upload new evidence. So our general practice at Arise is we try to file everything with the underlying application, meaning all the supporting evidence. That is definitely best practice, especially in this environment. But, you know, there's inevitably times when clients drag their feet or there's just newly available evidence and you need to send that into the government. There's a lot of complications with that because the government changes its policies with that. And sometimes they just lack transparency and they don't even tell you what the policy is. So it's really nice if you have an online system, you can just click a button and upload your evidence and then take a screenshot that it was received, and then you're done versus mailing it and then you don't even really know if it made it into the file. Like that's a real genuine problem that I've run into because we don't have access to what the government has access to in terms of the physical file. So those are just huge benefits alone. Um, Related to what I said about the scammers, it's also more secure to pay your filing fee online than it is to mail in a money order or a check. I'm hearing of instances of fraud in the mailing rooms at CIS. Not many instances of that, but I do know it's happening. Super concerning. And then there's problems with, well, then how do you get your money back? You probably won't, meaning your client probably won't. You have to resubmit the application, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of benefits to the system, even though it's deeply flawed. So here's the negative aspects of the myUSCIS system. As I mentioned, it crashes all the time and in weird ways. So it's 2026 right now. When you use this website, you will feel like you're in the 1990s. This is not an exaggeration, and you kind of have to have a sense of humor, I think, right now to, just to keep afloat. I've logged into this website, excuse me, and I have a total of, I believe, 49 pending cases, or some of them were already adjudicated, but there's 49 cases in my account. And all of those cases were just wiped out. This happened a couple weeks ago. There was just no record of them. But I'm familiar enough with the system to know at this point that, okay, that's just normal. It just does that. So I'm just giving you a heads up because it can be really concerning if you're not aware of these issues that this portal has. So it crashes, it gets rid of your information, it comes back generally though. I have heard of rare instances where attorneys are not able to access client information or cases they submitted. They were just deleted from the system, but that's not normal. That's never happened to me personally. It does weird things with freezing. So sometimes it'll freeze for no reason. It locks you out, it locks your client out. Usually, I'd say about 80% of the time, you're locked out for about 20 to 30 minutes. If you're locked out for longer than that, it tends to be a permanent issue. You have to start from scratch. But again, my point in telling you all this is just to give you a heads up to hopefully save you time. Wait for 20 or 30 minutes, try it again. If the error doesn't fix, it's probably a more permanent problem. You could always wait for 24 hours. Sometimes that fixes the problem, but generally that's your threshold, 20 to 30 minutes. It also occasionally refuses to accept cases. This was more common a couple years ago when the system was entirely new. It's not happening to me and other attorneys as much now, but it will occasionally just refuse to accept a case for no reason. So we've submitted at least 80 cases online over the course of the last couple years, and I would say at least 80% of them are able to go through. It's common to have issues with that freezing that I mentioned, but usually they do go through. And so, in light of all of that, kind of the pros and the cons, one thing to keep in mind with all the deadlines that we have to navigate in immigration is that you should always leave enough time to allow for a paper-based filing, meaning like the online system might just refuse you entirely, right? So you have to then print out the forms, get original signatures, because now that's a requirement, et cetera, and then you have to allow time to mail it in and have it receipted. So for us, like practically, like with an asylum case, we try to leave at least 3 to 4 weeks before the deadline if we can, so that there's not especially extra stress on our client. Okay. And now, like before I show you the actual website, I have a couple of like specific warnings for you about this particular website that you don't really know until you're on the website trying to use it. It does not allow copy and paste in like a normal way. It will not paste special characters, and it will duplicate portions of your copied material so that you have redundancies like in the body that you're trying to paste into the portal, if that makes sense. So just look for that. You have to proofread and edit what you pasted into the portal because it will not be like a verbatim paste. Very weird quirk. I've never seen that on another website. There's character limits for most of the little, like, what do you call them? The little things you populate. There's character limits, so be aware of that. Sometimes you just don't have a way around that. You have to do like a dot, dot, dot at the end of your whatever you're trying to write out just to indicate that like the name of the school you're trying to type out cannot fit within the confines that they're giving you. Um, File names cannot contain special characters. There is a maximum of 12 megabytes for any uploaded files. Let's see, what else do we have? It only allows certain file types to be uploaded, and it says that when you get to like the uploading portions of the applications. You get a lot of weird error messages. Sometimes it's a real error, sometimes it's actually not an error. So, for example, it's pretty common for me when I'm doing Forms I-765, the one that I'll show you tonight, applications for work permits. It's pretty common that the system will say there's an error with the passport photo, when in actuality we submit them and it's fine. So, who knows? Let's see. It's also challenging for a lot of clients to set up their own account. So we find that it helps if we help clients do that because you don't want them to run into issues setting up their account because then the government gets concerned, they block them from accessing it, et cetera, et cetera. So it helps to be kind of controlling with this, excuse me, with this process with your client just so that you can ensure that they can actually access it because it benefits them to be able to track their case online. And so when you're helping your client set up their own account, you just have to make sure that they're using the correct email address and that that's the same email address you use when you're referring to them in your application for them. If they don't match exactly, then the system won't allow you to link that application to that client. Let's see. Uh, Vera, am I missing anything?
Um, I think that, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, I think you mentioned everything. I think I've come across in my limited experience, I think I've come across uh 3 times a picture not being when you're uploading the picture,
Mhm.
not being compliant to the stats. Um, that happened 3 times. That happened 3 times. Um, the other day when we were doing a couple of work permits, and we submitted initially, there was like a page that came down that said something like error. And we're like, oh no. And then after we did the oh no, it was like, it's been submitted. So yes, so very temperamental. But I
Yeah.
think I think you covered everything. And the files for the evidence or whatever you're uploading are limited, but you can compress them
Mhm.
so that they fit. That's happened too. All of it has happened.
Yeah, that's a good point you raised too about like waiting to see if it actually submits. So another perk of the online system is that you generally get confirmation that it's submitted really fast. Like in general, I would say it's within 15 to 30 minutes. And so if you do get a page that pops up, excuse me, saying that, you successfully submitted your case, you should screenshot that to show compliance with deadlines. And then usually you get a receipt number right away, and then the receipt notice comes into the system. So I tell clients, your receipt notice should pop up within 24 hours. But, there's outlier cases where the receipt does not pop up, so that's why you really want to cover your bases and take the screenshot. Excuse me, I'm reacting to something. Okay, so I'll go ahead and show you the online system. I created just a fake case, so I'll share my screen. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions before we get started? Okay. Okay, so just because this is like an actual real portal, I can't show you the full thing because of client confidentiality, but it's pretty easy to set up your own account. You have to create, go through security questions and all of that. But once you're there, it's pretty self-explanatory, like filing forms for clients. You have to add the client and then file a form that is, related to that specific client. So I made myself, this is my former last name, I just made myself a client and then I started a form for Jennifer Healy. So what's nice about this is that it's pretty easy to navigate. I would say easier than the forms, which is good for clients because so many of our clients, English is their second or third language, or maybe they don't know any English, but it's just easier for them to follow along. So I'll just go through a couple things so you can see. Um, If you have any questions about, what do these questions mean, refer back to the instructions. So you would go back to the USCIS page for work permits, the I-765, and you would just pull up those instructions. Because I don't think that this portal gives you access to those instructions. So you have to go back to that old-fashioned page. And then, of course, um, with most with every application, you should prepare information for yourself when you are the preparer. These applications are inconsistent in terms of how they require you to do that, but we are always required to disclose that we prepared. So that's what this is. And this is, of course, my information, not the client's, because I'm the preparer. And it's a little bit weird, the wording. So it says about you here. This means about your client. So I'm a lawyer. This is a lawyer's account that you're looking at right now, and it says about you, but that's not what it means. It means about the client. So when you're new to this, it's a little bit counterintuitive. So anyway, this is pretty basic. You just fill out your client's information and you reference the documents that they've given you. And of course, ensure accuracy. Um, and then here's where you upload evidence. So it's nice for the I-765. It makes it really easy. It tells you specifically what they want. So the 2x2 photo, the digital version, of course, the Form I-94, the passport, and you upload it here. And then a previous employment authorization document. And then like we generally do work permits based on pending asylum, so we would upload the receipt notice as well to prove that the application is pending. And then if there's any other like tidbits of information we need to give, like for example, say your client has criminal history, you would need to document that and give an explanation, for why they're still eligible. This is where you could add that, add a response and give that information. And then, so it won't allow me to show you all of this because I didn't populate every single thing in the system to allow me to proceed to the next page. But this review and submit page is really helpful. It allows you to look through the entire application, um, which is much easier than going back through every single like heading over here. You can look through the whole application at once. It will also allow you the option to download a PDF of everything you put into the system. And for more complex cases like an asylum application, it will give you a list of all the documents you uploaded as evidence. So that's really helpful to review. So like you would review that yourself. And hopefully if your client is more sophisticated and wants to be more involved in their case, they can review it as well. And then, so most of these applications now require really high fees. So you have to go through to payment. So the way that works, and I'll just stop sharing, um, is that there's a ping-ponging back and forth. Like you go ahead and submit the application when it's complete and you know that it's correct. And then your client has to sign off on it, indicating that it's correct. They sign their name. it comes back to you and you submit the payment on behalf of your client. At least that's how it's been for all the applications that I've done. So they need a debit or a credit card to submit the payment online. If there's any issue, like say for example, you go ahead and do that initial submission, meaning like it's headed to your client. They get a passcode that they use to access that application you pre-filled. Say they say, no, like you made a mistake, I need this fixed. It comes back to you, but you will be locked out generally for 30 minutes. And then you can fix it, and then you get passed back to the client and it comes back to you. Go ahead, Tatiana.
Hi. The question that I have, I talked to some nonprofit organization and their managing attorney before, and they said that it's a question related to payment.
Mhm.
They said that they do all filing, paper filing, partially because they don't want to do with clients' money. I said, well, but if client is sitting near you and he gives you his credit card details and you put it in the system and then you pay fee for this, whether it's parole or for employment authorization. So their opinion is that it's still client's money, and because like you need to keep it separate. So, and there is issue with this because you cannot keep separate. You pay from your account with client's money. I don't understand the point here. But I understand that there is something, but I don't understand the point because I actually don't deal with client's money. So the money goes directly from the client's card to USCIS. So do you see any problem here, or it's like overthinking?
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. We have taken client credit card information and plugged it in for the client, and I don't see that as commingling. I think that's what you're getting at, commingling of funds. I
Mhm.
don't see any issue with that because, like you were saying, it goes directly from the client to the government. I'm just facilitating by typing it out.
Yeah, thank you. Because
Sure.
I had the same idea, but I was not sure. Maybe I just don't understand the problem here.
Yeah, I think that's
Thank
fine.
you. Thank you very much.
Sure. Let's see. I see a couple things in the chat. Um,
Yeah, that was me. One of the thing I wrote there that why how would you get to the fraudulent website if you go through your USAS account? You need to log in into it, or the client needs to log in, or you're telling that there are some fraudulent websites that offer you to create account.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing, the most recent scam problems that I'm seeing is that for mail-in applications that have directions, like the mailing address is to the scammer
Okay.
who then intercepts the client's information,
Okay.
to steal from
Understood.
them. That's what I'm
Okay.
seeing. But it's scary though because I could imagine a scenario where people can simulate the online system, and it's so glitchy and bizarre that like some of us might not pick up on that, because it's already strange. And like
Mhm.
also, there are occasionally very strange headings in the myUSCIS system. Like you might remember, it might actually still be up there. Maybe a year ago, there was something about like aliens, like very weird language you would not expect from the federal government. Well, now I guess we should expect it, but I didn't expect. I thought it was weird, and I thought it might be a scam. So anyway, this is just kind of a general warning to be careful because I don't
Thank
know what
you.
their capabilities are. Okay. Do you have clients set up separate email accounts like a Gmail for USAS purposes? So that's a good question. Sometimes. So it depends on how they come to us. Like some clients come to us with existing myUSCIS accounts, in which case we have to use that existing account with the linked email because you can't duplicate accounts. And of course, the government like thinks that's fraud. So, yes. So if they come to you with an existing one, you have to use it. For clients who are really like who struggle, they don't have much education in their background, sometimes we help them create even an email address first and then help them create the myUSCIS account. And the idea there is that the system will kick them out and suspect fraud or like some sort of security threat if there's too many errors as they're trying to sign up. So that's why we try to help them to prevent, that kind of suspicion. Okay, can you make one USAS account under your name as a provider and use the account for different clients? I'm not sure I understand this question, but that's what you would generally do is like you as the advocate, you remain the same, right? Even if you switch agencies or law firms or whatever, you update your information in your account. And then, yes, your clients are linked to that account. And so, like, if you would switch, say I would switch from Arise and go to a firm or something, I would withdraw my representation for all of those cases, unless, of course, like the representation continued on to wherever I was headed next. I don't know if that answers your question, Yahira.
Yes, it was that like as a provider, and you encounter these clients that they very naive. They barely probably that not even they don't even know how to write.
Yes.
And then you, as a provider, as a lawyer, representative, you do an account under your name and then you help out different clients submit these applications with your login, with your credentials.
Right. Yep. There's one other one. So it's someone asked about mailing in. Did someone ask about mailing in fees? Yeah, so there was some recent change with that, but I think that they're still accepting, I think they still accept some mail-in fees.
They're not accepting
Not at
money
all?
orders. No, because I tried to help out a client and they kick it back and they put it like they don't accept money orders anymore. Personal checks. It has to be
Yeah, so they
only.
limited the ways you can pay, right?
And then they created a form. It's called G14 something that if you
1450.
something like that, and then if you want to do a paper, like pay by paper,
Yes.
they're not accepting
Thank you. Yes. So what they're
nothing.
doing, my understanding, and don't hold me to this, but my understanding is that, yeah, the form is where you fill out like your bank account information or the credit card information or debit card information, and
Yeah,
that's what these scammers are intercepting through the mail. Whereas it
but
used
it's
to be that you could file a check or a money order.
but it will be so easy. Like when you pay for asylums, and like they created that page,
Yeah.
just added uh, other applications, and then we just pay, print out that paper receipt, and just send it or download it to the system because you can download um the when you make a payment, you download it to your computer and then you just attach it to the through electronically. But the 765, they don't have it like that yet.
Mm. Yeah, they keep changing the payment processes. Any other questions? Okay, well, that's all I have. This is a short and simple one, but like I said, we'll do another one more on like a more robust explanation of EADs. Go ahead, Jennifer. I saw your hand.
I'm in a restaurant. I'm in a restaurant, so I
Oh,
put it in the
sure.
text box.
Since there are character limits in the text boxes, do they have a space at the end for additional information? Yes. So that's a great spot. Like I showed you at the end of the application, it mirrors what you see on the form. There's like an additional information section, and that's where you can explain things. It gets kind of confusing, like especially on the 589. So specifically with like employment and educational history, if your client's really educated and has been really employed, it's a lot of information. So there have been periods where I have not put like the entire name of everything because actually think it would cause confusion. So I've simplified the name or, use your judgment because you're, of course, trying to be honest and forthcoming, but at the same time, if you cause too much confusion, then that can create other problems. So that's just sort of a judgment call because education and employment, they don't matter. If it's something really important, like the name of your kid, and they have a super long name, that's a different matter. So yeah, there is a spot at the end of every form where you can amend things or add additional information. All right, well, that's all I have, unless anyone else has anything. Short and sweet. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you all, and I'll keep you posted with the remainder of the series. Have a great
Thank
night.
you. Thank you. Good
Thanks,
night.
Jen.
Thanks
Good
for your help,
night.
Ariel.
Thank you.
Good night.